Here is the NOVA-01. It's 130 cubic meters, which we are building right now. It's a small-scale model of the NOVA-02 airship. The model is not only external, but also includes its technical characteristics, aerodynamics, power-to-weight ratio, and so on. For this, we selected the right propellers. The propellers were foreign, Western. We could buy them in Europe. We bought them in America, were sent from America to China, and then from China to Europe. They're coming to us, and this might be the last to arrive. By the end of March, we will definitely fill the envelope, hang the gondola, and be ready, waiting for the propellers. We have propellers, various, and we can fly with these. By the end of March, we will assemble it. I can't say when it will lift, but it will be early April, flying and testing it throughout April. There is Bekashev, a specialist who currently makes various aero figures, and he also manufactures aerostats. Previously, he used to manufacture more aeronautical equipment, but now, since he's involved in this, he has shifted to making such products. In general, he gladly took on the order, even provided his own fabric that he had. Using his own fabric at his facilities, with his own people, he took on the task of making the hull of the airship NOVA-01 for us. We were responsible for the development of the hull itself. What it consists of. There are a lot of different suspensions, legs, ribs, reinforcements, catenary belts, ballonets, all of that. In general, we developed the general views and shell department. We cut it according to the width of his material and made the cutting patterns, cutting diagrams. And now he has already cut all the material, welded the main pedals. Currently, he is welding the hull of the airship from the main pedals. Its volume is 130 cubic meters, the volume of its hull. About 20% will be occupied by the ballonet in the airship. So 130 minus 20% is the volume of helium. Helium lifts. 1 cubic meter of helium lifts 1 kilogram. So this airship has about 100 kilograms of lifting force, and then we start subtracting the weight of the airship itself, the shell, the gondola frames, the weight of the engines, batteries, and so on. The most important doc for an airship is the weight summary. According to the weight summary, this airship is capable of achieving neutral buoyancy with a load of approximately 20 to approximately 30 kilograms. Everything will depend on how easily and securely we assemble it. We'll check and see. Yes, it resembles a small copy of the NOVA-02. Probably not the most likely optimal drone that could possibly be created with such a volume. But after we conduct all the tests, we are creating it, I remind you, specifically to test the dynamic characteristics, because its shape, tail, and propeller thrust match, in general, to observe the dynamics of flight, landing, takeoff, and maybe even practice automatic docking, although that's unlikely. And in the future, there are plans to modify it to be more efficient, to select more efficient propeller motor groups, or rather, they have already been selected, and we will experiment. In the last webinar, when I was with Sergei Semyonov and Pavel Filipov, yes, I mentioned that TSNIMASH became interested in us as a company and all the products we declare we will produce. And TSNIMASH is very interested in conducting a series of experiments on this airship for further commercial use of similar ones, specifically small unmanned ones or with increased payload capacity. For us, to manufacture an airship that will lift from 50 to 100 kilograms. So, the main question is where and how we will make them. It became apparent to us, and I think it was clear before, and as we have discussed previously, we have already mentioned that we will definitely be opening our own envelope production. We planned, and we still plan to open it by this summer. By summer, we should already have the land, we should have the premises, and we should have the equipment. Cutting well, first there's the inspection. When the fabric arrives, it needs to be thoroughly checked for transparency. This can be done using a video camera algorithms or with the help of experienced specialists. Each roll is rewound, spots with defects are marked, and these areas are not included in the cutting process. Then there are the cutting tables, and after that, various welding equipment and even testing equipment. The shells need to be filled, checked for airtightness, leaks, and so on. We need to solve this task by summer. Here's also one of the videos I recently sent you, It's actually about pneumatic frame hangars. Just yesterday, we actually went out, and we've been working with them to find hangars for quite some time. We're looking at metal frame, pneumatic support, pneumatic frame, and permanent ones. And out of everyone on the market, we chose this company, which we visited yesterday. We were satisfied with everything. You can see in the video what it's like. A large, spacious, clean, bright hangar. It's cheap and sets up quickly. Overall, it completely suits us. We plan to initially place it as a hangar for assembly, specifically for the NOVA-01. In the future, we plan to place a shell welding shop there and use it as a hangar for NOVA-02 and also as a welding shop for NOVA-08, for example, and right now there are several proposals. Initially, one airfield is inviting us. Another airfield is inviting us, and some have even suggested buying airfields, and as it turns out, the airfield market is moving very slowly. No one has bought those airfields yet, and we are now starting to reach out again. We are at a crucial stage of choosing, actually, between the Moscow region, such as the Vladimir region, for instance, the Tver region, and the Tula region. We understand that this is for the long term. It's forever. This will be our first airship field, your first airship field, ours together, essentially our own. And the fact that we will be going there for many years, it needs to be convenient. It needs to be beautiful. This place should be somewhat tourist-friendly, because our foreign partners and investors will definitely be visiting, and tourists will be coming as well. It should be easy to work there, and transport and logistics accessibility should be good. And there shouldn't be any factors nearby that interfere with takeoff and landing, like a large airfield, military bases, or other potential obstructions, for example. In general, a lot, and the city administration should be happy and welcome us. So far, there are no problems with this. Everyone is very pleased when they hear about the creation of a new, modern airship base. In general, we are trying to find a site that will suit all of us. And now there are already about 2 clear favorites and 2 backup options. I think in the next month or 2 we will definitely decide and start the acquisition process. Because by summer, this pneumatic hangar should already be on our land. So the project will have its first major acquisitions, and I congratulate all of us on that. Also, by summer, a complete technological line for the production of shells should be established in this hangar. We are actively selecting equipment for purchase. It is significantly cheaper than equipment for metal cutting processing. Although semi-machines, for example, milling machines, 3 to 5 axis, are much cheaper, they still cost money. Naturally, there must be special requirements for climate control, cleanliness, and the floor must be such that you can walk on it in slippers. And a whole lot of interesting things. We are currently forming all these requirements, developing the technological chain, and by summer we will have to. We definitely need to purchase all of this essential equipment and materials, so we are currently trying to meticulously calculate the budget, ensuring we have the necessary amount of funds to start producing the outer shell for the innovative NOVA-02 airship. This production will take place on our own land, under our own roof, with the goal of completing it by the summer season. And for the NOVA-02 airship, the design process for the gondola is actively underway. Well, the preliminary design is nearing completion. Yesterday, per the agreement, we were supposed to complete the steps. The steps are not yet completed. The completion is about 95. And the design project, which I sent you only one of, has been supplemented with about 4 more types of designs. All of them because we liked them. We picked up some good ideas from there. We added everything to the first design. And, in general, we will show the final version soon. It will be slightly different from the first. It will be a bit larger. There will be more space there. The pilot's view will be slightly expanded. The beams that slightly obstructed the passenger's view will be moved. The engine will be moved far enough back to adequately meet the cabin noise requirements. This is one of the mandatory requirements, at least for me personally, And I think everyone agrees with me that an airship is something weightless and quiet in our perception. But there's one but. It has a certain dimension, and the smaller the airship, the less efficient it is. So you have to compromise on something, and noise is something we absolutely don't want to compromise on. More or less, yes, the design will remain the same, and we will move on to developing the design documentation, 3D models, and full-scale prototyping. I think in a couple of months we will build the full-scale model, approve it once more, and then move on to the development and production of the gondola. We were indeed planning to buy Belgian gasoline engines for the Nova-02 airship. Initially, we wanted to go through Russian suppliers. Well, as suppliers there, in general, the company Sevan is currently developing a light aircraft. They want to install this engine in it and wanted to add to their order, but it did not work out for some reason, for many reasons. Firstly, the price is quite high compared to the original, and secondly, the wait time is very long, so we decided to find it ourselves. It also needs to be paid for, and it should be ready by summer, so the cost is increasing. An aviation engine is not a cheap pleasure. As for the propellers, as I mentioned, the rotary transmission, the ring, we are developing all of this independently. All of this is on us. On board electronics, we are also developing everything independently. By the way, we have already finished with the onboard and control system and have written this dispatcher program. I don't know what to call it yet. They call it the dispatcher program. It's the one you can open from your phone, tablet, or desktop computer to see all your devices on the map, check their current statuses, check the status of all systems within each device, and manage them completely in automatic mode, such as, for example, you can set a coordinate and let it decide how to fly there on its own, depending on the wind, how much fuel or charge it has on board, and so on. You can also switch to manual control, use the 360 degrees cameras on it to look around, and so on. We finished writing this software, uploaded it to the server last week, launched it, and everything works. Today, I was already using this server. When it was recording video, I turned the handle, the signal went to the desktop computer, and then to the server. And this whole process was transmitted via 4G to the onboard computer, which then either turned the steering servos or activated the thrusters. The response is instantaneous. Everything works perfectly, so this is another big victory, or rather a small one for now, but still satisfying. And since we ended up developing this entire system ourselves, part of our onboard equipment will already be digital. Well, half of the instruments are, of course, necessary and mandatory, but not for the drone. We've practically bought the fabric for the shell. Once it arrives in Russia, I'll be able to relax. We have the fabric. So, for the Airship NOVA-02, we selected two types of fabric in the batch. One is more durable, 240 grams per square meter, and the other is simpler, 160 grams. Due to the 240, the hull of the NOVA-02 airship will be welded, and the 160 was not inside the hull, and we took a little more of the 160 to weld a couple more NOVA-01. In about a month and a half, at most 2, we expect the delivery of this fabric. Then, of course, the land, the hangar, and the start of production of this shell. So, in broad strokes, that's how things stand with the NOVA-01 and NOVA-02 airships for now. Regarding the land, as I mentioned, we're getting closer to purchasing, or at least to deciding which plot will be ours. As for the price ranges, you can just type it in and check on Kian or simply on Google by an airfield, and you'll get a general idea of the prices. Sometimes, by the way, they differ by an order of magnitude, with a 0 on the right either added or removed. It all depends on the distance from Moscow, of course, and the viability of the airfield. There are airfields that are sold entirely along with an existing business and staff. For example, some planes are stored there, parachutists jump, and sightseeing tours around the area are conducted from there. There are also some branches that operate commercially, and they sell the whole functioning setup. Overall, it might be more interesting, but on the other hand, not necessarily. The Airship NOVA-08 is the next one after NOVA-02. It will also be of the soft type. We are currently developing its concept. Its size is clear. NOVA-08 is 8,000 cubic meters. This is after NOVA-02, which is 2,000 cubic meters. There are aviation standards. There, up to 9 people are conditionally in an airplane, helicopter, or airship. This is one class of aircraft. Then conditionally from 9 to 19 is definitely another class, and above 19 is the third. And for as many as 19 people, there will be the NOVA-08, if it's for passengers or tourists, and from 2 to 3 tons over a couple of thousand kilometers if it's a drone and cargo, approximately. We are developing its main configurations, and it will already have a small degree of hybridization. It's not that it has a gasoline engine. It will be electric. That's how it will be. Hybridization is essential in the airship as it not only carries with aerostatics, but also with aerodynamics. This solves problems related to changes in buoyancy, ballasting, and a bunch of other issues. In general, a small degree of hybridization will already be present in the NOVA-08. Once we approve the concept, I'll post and show it. I think everything will be clear by March-April. Vadim Zukovich wants to move on to the NOVA-35 concept because he's bored. The NOVA-01 is developed and produced. The main concept for NOVA-02 has been approved. The Moscow Aviation is working on the gondola together with Ruslin, and the shell developers are designing the shell. The supply department is searching for parts, and now he's moved on to NOVA-08. The concept for NOVA-08 is already formed but not approved, and he's already eyeing NOVA-35. So, will the airship launch be in Tula? Definitely not. There will be no launch in Tula. NOVA-01 will most likely, with a 99% probability, be in Kierzhak. I can also tell you a little about the stratosphere. We ended up with a somewhat prolonged project for launching a round-the-world device. From Kierzhak, I will conduct a sort of live report. The connection there is actually quite good, which is why we don't cover it from there, but I'll figure something out. I'll climb onto the roof of the hangar, catch the network, and send updates to Telegram. We're launching into the stratosphere, hoping for a 4-day flight. During this time, it should make a full rotation in the polar stratospheric vortex and return to our side. We'll control it and bring the device down to the ground, retrieve the payload, achieve a new Russian record, fingers crossed. I started talking on TSN-IMS. I can continue. Currently, at present, we are indeed entirely carrying out this work on our own initiative, knowing that there are, in fact, several clients for such systems, but these systems also need, so to speak, a big brother. And we are very fortunate that TSN-IMS wishes to act as the big brother in some of these projects. They say, hurry up and conduct your experiment. We have already jointly developed a technical assignment with them for subsequent work and a work plan for forming the constellation. They will act as the chief lead developer and primary architect of the system itself, specifically the low orbit, stratospheric constellation for communication, monitoring, and management, and overseer. And within this work, we will play the role of developer and supplier of the lifting system itself. This includes the carrier envelope plus ballast envelopes as well. But without the payload. They have already chosen the payload and discussed it. We met with the guys. Overall, we agreed on the schedules. We agreed on the weights. We agreed on the necessary fluctuations in altitude and other aspects. Their payload is liftable, and our system is suitable for various atmospheric fluctuations. In general, we're keeping our fingers crossed too. This summer, by August, it would be absolutely great if we could definitely have something flying in this joint project. So, we are definitely planning out the joint work with them until the end of this year. There will be a series of launches, starting with mock payloads, and then with the actual payload, and this work is marked as experimental. If the experiment is indeed successful, everything will proceed at a different pace. In summary, Aeronov has already received its first working order. Also, regarding the stratosphere, I promised our foreign investors and partners that we would launch from Africa. And Dmitry Sergeyevich Khmel dreams of launching a series of devices in the equatorial current to refine the construction of mathematical models. Overall, the equatorial zone is also very interesting, much more interesting than the northern polar vortex. Because the northern polar vortex disappears, it moves to the South Pole, and it's not in the north, and then it returns. It's 6 months here, 6 months there, but the equatorial one doesn't go anywhere. It's more stable, and the population density on our planet is precisely along the equator, and therefore, for commercial purposes, it's quite an interesting story. So, this summer we would like to launch from there as well. We'll see. There are a lot of ambitious plans for this summer, and if everything works out, we'll be doing great. What to write on the side? The envelope of the Airship NOVA-01 will be white. Naturally, AeroNova will be written on the side. For all subsequent airships, the airship experts strongly recommend making it white. It's not just simply because white is white, but because a specific oxide in the composition protects the fabric from ultraviolet degradation. But no one will stop us if we want to decorate it somehow. Industrial designers are currently working hard, drawing interesting sketches. The subsequent airships will be made beautiful and colorful, though not gaudy. Just take a look. I'll probably start sharing the design project soon. You can draw your own. In fact, decorating an airship is an interesting task. If you have the makings of an artist or designer, or if you are a professional artist or designer, draw airships and make suggestions. We've settled on the power unit for the 2-ton model. Yes, we've decided. They've already invoiced us for the payment of these engines. We will be purchasing 2 engines and 1 complete repair kit. They are waiting for payment, but we haven't paid yet. We're looking at land. I think we should choose land based on climate parameters, altitude above sea level, winds, air frequency, to have fewer planes flying overhead, other flying devices, magnetic fields, stars, and so on. Yes, that's how we're looking at it. You can look at a wind map. There are specific zones clearly marked where there are fewer winds on average throughout the year, and where there are more winds, such as in these areas. We even examine according to such maps and resources, but we don't have much choice. We look at whatever active airfields there are. 500 kilograms, the main 10 tons. Plans have changed. In fact, our plans changed from the very first conferences, meaning now at 17 meters, by the end of the year 500 kilograms, then what? Then NOVA-08, which has a payload capacity from 2 tons to 3, then NOVA-35. This is approximately a 10-tonner in the most pessimistic scenario, 15 tons, which would be good for transporting over thousands of kilometers already. And overall, that's how the projects will be structured. It's NOVA-01, NOVA-02, NOVA-08, and NOVA plus or minus 35. There they are, 3.5 types of airships. Each will have several modifications, including passenger, cargo passenger, and unmanned versions. But these are specifically the types of airships. The first 2.5 will be of the soft type, while NOVA-35 will be of the rigid type. It will incorporate all previous developments, including unmanned systems and refined solutions for parking, mooring, takeoffs, and landings. And in terms of hybridization in 2 directions, the power plant and there in lifting capacity, static lift plus dynamic lift, and a rigid hull. And this will be the flagship device that combines all the solutions, and in the future, it will be the one to scale, 10 tons, then 60, 100, and beyond. And this is unlikely to be within the framework of a crowd project. The company will be able to develop this independently. It is stated that profit is planned. Can you explain when dividends will be paid? Next is the calculation of the cost per share. This question is better directed to Pavel Filipov. The profit that was planned for the year, we previously calculated based on sales, yes, of airships. This is the most conservative estimate. And further, yes, there was information earlier that the company could earn from selling airships, and everything is generally calculated here, yes. This calculation was based on the sale of 10-ton airships in a certain quantity, from 12 to a little over 20 per year. Plus, simultaneously, you can sell 8-ton and 2-ton airships, and this figure was calculated. But here in the questions themselves and further on, there are answers. As Alexander Nikolaevich-Kirillin and everyone in aviation say, for every ruble invested, you get 10 rubles from development, 100 rubles from production, and 1,000 rubles from operation. Naturally, operating airships is one of the most profitable niches, and AeroNova will not stray from it. Because even to sell an airship, it needs to be sold with some operational experience, and to gain that experience, we will have to use and operate them, of course, and overall, it's a necessity for the business. So the profit calculation, like the business plan, was initially done in broad strokes and was a bit overly pessimistic. We will probably be able to make more or less realistic calculations this year, but I can't say exactly when. In a session, it was hinted that the crowdfunding would be short. Yes, it was hinted. This was during the latest webinar with Sergei Semyonov and Pavel Filipov. Many indeed understood that there are interested large investors who can quickly finance the project so that it doesn't drag on. And that's why Sergei said that the company is planned to be international. No, that's not why Sergei said the company is planned to be international. The company is already international. Yes, indeed, Sergei was certainly reflecting deeply and undoubtedly talking about the fact that the core, parent company, which will belong to the investors, is being considered in terms of where it should be located as well. Because listing it on exchanges raises the question of which exchange, Moscow or not Moscow. Here, too, the question arises, if it's public, it's probably better in America. That's clear, that's clear. Sergei mentioned. And about the major investor, yes. There are a number of several proposals from major investors. And we are considering these proposals. We are looking at the interaction scheme and exploring how to make it all work. The amounts are substantial, but it's unlikely to significantly speed up the project's funding right now. They're not that large, but noticeable. And there are several people. Probably, if we break down the stages in SOLARGROUP by the amounts collected, we will definitely skip 5 stages.